Hi there, crafty friends. Welcome and thank you for joining me. My name is Melissa, and today I thought we would take a look at Waffle Flowers Sneak Peek Kit for August 2025. This is a monthly subscription, and you receive items, approximately a month before they are released. And I was really excited about this. I have not subscribed to a monthly kit in a long time. And this kit is very reasonable. It's $29.99, and this is the kit for August. We are going to be using the Hibiscus cluster die along with the Hibiscus cluster stencils. So in the kit, I got the die, which is actually 3 pieces. You also get these 2 little pieces for the centers of your flowers. I got the die, the stencils, and then some sentiments. And it all came in this fancy little bag here. So I was super excited about that. And then you also receive a piece of paper that has some more samples, some ideas on it. So that is always super helpful. So let's go ahead and get started. I found that it is easiest to start with the stencils and then die cut. We just got back from our trip on Tuesday. Everything is a little out of order, the whole house. I really need to dust, but I wanted to do a video. So let's get started. This is a 4-piece stencil set, and it is really, really easy to line up. We're just going to use the alignment guides on there, get that lined up and adhered to our sticky mat. And I need to use a little bit of masking tape because I don't want all of my flowers to be the same color. Let's do this first. So I did do a sample in pink, but we're going to change it up. We're going to use purples and kind of aquas. So let's bring in our aqua first. And for that, I've got Waterfall and Paradise. These are pink fresh inks. And then for my purples, I will be using Hydrangea and Opulence. So let's start with our lightest blue, which is Waterfall. And we also need to mask off this other little flower down here. Just because I'm using my big brushes and I don't want to risk getting any color where I don't want it. And we're going to kind of tap off. I don't want it too dark. And we're just going to put a little color on there. So we just got back from our trip. It was super fun. I saw my son. I saw my mom. We had a great time. We started off in Minnesota, then we went to Wisconsin, then back to Minnesota to drop off my mom. Then we headed south. We stopped in Illinois, Ohio, and those were just layovers. Those were just one night. And then we went to Indiana and Kentucky and visited my husband's cousins. And then we made our way down to Tennessee, and we went to Memphis and Nashville. So that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of traveling. We had a great time though. So now I'm just adding a little bit of hydrangea on here. And I actually took my masking paper off a little too soon for the blues, but that's all right. We'll put it back. So I just want a light coating of ink, and I decided to make a card with this today because I have just overwhelmed with everything that we've got going on from being gone for so long. And I wanted to do something simple and also talk about the monthly kits. So now we're bringing in some Opulence, and I am just going around the edges of my main flowers here. This is the larger image, and it's 2 flowers. So I'm just going to give some highlights here and go around the edges. I also did my class for Firefly Farm when I was gone. That turned out really nice. And I've got another one coming up in August. So it's a virtual event. It's a crate. and it is so much fun. She has so much packed into this crate that is not even necessarily all crafting or card making. She's got 2 crates. She does a card making and a scrapbooking crate. I am doing a class for the card making crate, and I will be teaching 3 cards on Saturday, and this is in August, so I will put a link for that in case you're interested. So let's move on. We didn't do our little highlights there for our blue, and I also want to bring in my brush here and just give a little bit of color. See if I can pick some up. Just give a little bit of color where those flowers meet. Then we can cover this back up, and then we will do the same for our paradise. And we're just going to, I don't want it too terribly dark. We're just going to go around the edge. And it doesn't have to be perfect, because when we die cut this, it has stitching marks. Is it stitching marks? Not really stitching marks, but it's got markings in there for the accents on your leaves and your flowers. So it looks really pretty. All right, so let's move on to stencil number 2. And there are marks on the stencil, so it is so easy to line up with the flower. So again, let's do our blue flowers since we have that blender brush out. I just want to be super careful here. And we're just going to add a little bit more accent and make those petals just a little bit darker. And on the bottom and the top of this down here, I think that's probably pretty good. So now we can move on to our purple, which will be our opulence. Now we can come in and do the same thing. This goes so quickly. So I'm just continuing around the edge of the stencil here. And it doesn't look like I'm making much of a difference, but once we take this stencil off, you will see that. See, you can really tell where the petals are now that we've got that stencil off of there. And number 3 is our leaves. And for my greens, we are using fresh pear and olive, my go-to greens for leaves. And I want to keep it kind of light. We're coming in with the big brush first because I can get more area covered in a quicker amount of time, in less amount of time, I should say, to be correct. So we're just going to get a light coating on there, and then we will come in with olive with our littler brush. And the same thing, we're just going to go around the edges and get some color on there. So my next class will be using pink fresh products again. I am anxiously awaiting my package so I can design my cards for Trisha. And again, she's got some wonderful teachers. She's got Jen Shirkus, Mindy Egan, and Leah Lawson also teaching classes. And for all the product you get in this crate, it really is worth the value. You get so much more than what you pay. And I'm just getting some color on those leaves, some accent. I think that's probably pretty good. And that is looking pretty already. And we are already on our last stencil. Stencil number 4, we have our flower centers and some greenery. So let's bring back in olive for those small little green pieces. And I'm just going to make it darker. I looked up hibiscus and they come in all different colors. So you can change this up to anything that you want. So now I am using marigold. I will have everything listed and linked in the description. And I want to go heavy on this one, but I don't need to go too heavy on the other 2 because I am going to actually cover these with the other die cuts. I think that's pretty good. And that is so pretty. Wait till you see this die cut out. Let's get our paper off of there. So this does line up pretty well. What I'm going to do is you can look through it and you can see 4 little sections that are not colored in. And that's where I'm going to line up my die. And that will come out perfect. So I'm going to go run this through my machine. So I got that all die cut, and you can see that these flower petals are die cut and they kind of pop up, and that is going to add so much interest. So I've got 2 that I already die cut and I stacked. So those are glued together. We're going to bring back in our opulence, and because I want my petals to stand up, I'm going to put a little bit of foam tape behind those, but I want to add a little bit of color behind these flowers. So when the petals do stand up, there will be color behind them. So we're just going to color over those petals that are popped up. That should be good, and it does not need to be pretty because you're not going to see it. So let's add some glue to our ink blended image, and we're going to make sure not to glue down those petals that pop up. So now we can add this to our stacked piece. And because we didn't glue down our petals, I'm hoping you can see that. They will pop up, and there is color underneath there. So that looks, it's just an extra little touch that makes the card. And in order to keep those petals raised, I am going to add some foam squares behind them. I've just got the little ones, the thin, smaller triangles, and I am just going to add these underneath that petal. That way, when I mail this card and my recipient receives it, the petals will still be popped up. And then I pulled out one of the sentiments that we received. We received our little sheet of sentiments, and I've got sending hugs. Now, I did trim that down a little bit just because I'm a little fickle and I don't like to see the little pull tabs on there when I layer my sentiments. And then these are the other 2 dies that came with the kit, and I just went direct to paper. I colored my paper with marigold, and then I cut that out 3 times. So I've got that stacked, and we are going to add that to our image here just for extra dimension. Because it is a pretty simple layout here, I did want that extra dimension just to add interest, and this will just fall right into place there. We've got those die cuts added, and that is so cute. I just love that. So let's move on. So for our background, my pink card I did do with a white background, but I thought, you know what? Let's change it up a little bit. Let's be a little dramatic. You know what? I like the green. Let's be a little dramatic. So for my background, I'm using Waffle Flowers Crosshatch texture die, and this might be one of my new favorite background dies. And I just cut that to 4 by 5 1/4 and ran that through my machine. And I am just going to glue this directly down. I've got to be a little bit more aware because postage, I'm not sure if it went up yet or if it is going up, but I know it's this month. I've got just liquid glue back behind there. And we can add our image here. So I didn't use foam tape. I want to be a little more conscientious for mailing purposes. So I'm just doing layers, cardstock layers. It won't be as thick as foam tape, but it will still give us that dimension. And that is looking so pretty. I just love that. Let's get our sentiment added. I've got foam tape on the back of that. And I am using my T-ruler because I don't want that sentiment to be crooked. And that is perfect. Let's get this added to our card base. I will put a little bit of thin foam tape behind our panel. So I've got that added to my card base, and now all we need to do is embellish. So we've got a couple options. I don't think this one matches. We're not going to use that one. Let's go with, you know what? I think we're going to have to go with the green because that purple is not a good match either. Or we could go with, what is this? Amber clear drops. And I think that will match perfect. So let's get a couple of these added. And that card is done. That came out so cute. I'm still not sure how I feel about the dark background. I'm trying to think outside of the box a little bit. I may like the white background better. I'm not sure, but it came out really cute. Which one do you like better? Please leave me a comment. Please give me a thumbs up. I will have everything linked in the description below. You cannot purchase the hibiscus cluster yet, but I will have a link in there in case you do decide to also join the monthly sneak peek subscription. Thank you so much for spending time with me, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.